the world usually quiets down at night, and that's when the noise in our heads can get really loud. Everybody has been there, lying in bed, gazing up at the ceiling, caught up in a never-ending cycle of regretting the day's mistakes and worrying about what could happen the next day. Isn't that exhausting? You're not alone in this mental endurance test, though. Overanalyzing can rob you of both your peaceful daytime hours and restful nighttime slumber. It's like having an itch you can't seem to scratch. What if I told you, though, that there is a way to stop those distracting thoughts? We delve deeply into the wisdom of Stoicism today, an age-old philosophy that remains relevant thousands of years later. This goes beyond historical ideas. It's about practical tools that make life easier and more concentrated. Thus, bear with me if you're sick of your thoughts racing. Let's investigate how these traditional methods can help us find clarity and calm in this chaotic world. You won't want to miss a minute of this video, I promise. There is value in every moment to help you tune out the chatter in your head. First lesson, take action rather than think things through. You know those times when you sit there thinking about a million different what-ifs and maybes, and before you know it, hours have passed and you've made no progress at all. That's what this is all about. We learn a potent remedy from Stoicism for this over-analytical paralysis, putting action above incessant contemplation. Consider the words of Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher. The organization of the non-obvious holds the secret to all victory. Marcus was not one to simply consider options. He advocated for taking actions that truly have an impact. How then do we put this to use? It begins with realizing that while overthinking frequently sends us into a state of stagnation, action naturally propels us forward. Ever feel like a weight is lifted off your shoulders when you finally decide to take even a small step forward? Because taking action feels liberating. It releases the bonds of uncertainty and procrastination. I'll tell you a personal story now. This was an idea I had for a project once. I merely thought about it for weeks, mentally organizing every aspect. But hey, what do you know? Because I was too preoccupied with trying to make it perfect, it never really took off. I was paralyzed by my own analysis. Things began to change the moment I took action, even if it was just writing down some notes or talking to a friend about the idea. Although not flawless, it was a step forward. We don't always control the results of our actions, according to the Stoics. We lessen the overwhelm of trying to control every potential future scenario, which, let's face it, is impossible, by concentrating on what we can do now. Every step you take teaches you something new, offers new perspectives, and occasionally even presents new difficulties, but there is always movement. Every action you take presents an opportunity for learning and for you to grow and change. Here's another thing to consider. Confidence is nourished by action. You show yourself that you are capable of overcoming your fears every time you take action. As you gain momentum, things that once seemed unachievable begin to appear quite manageable. Recall that Stoicism places a lot of emphasis on living in harmony with nature, and that we should learn and develop from our actions as well as our thoughts. What modest step can you then take today? Perhaps it's sending an email, picking up that phone call you've been putting off, or simply clearing your desk. It's not necessary to make a huge leap. Little steps nonetheless. It's important to keep going. Don't allow your mind to stop you. Seneca once said, "We do not dare because something is difficult. The reason they are challenging is that we fear doing them." Accepting the Stoic principle of prioritizing action over analysis gives us the ability to live more fully bravely, and purposefully. Now let's carry out those plans. Let's put plans into action. The amount more you can accomplish when you stop overthinking and start acting will astound you. Second lesson. You're not all that unique. The concept is directly derived from the Stoic teachings, especially those of Marcus Aurelius, who frequently reminded himself to control his ego during his meditations. You could end your life at any time, he wrote. Allow that to guide your actions, words, and thoughts. This served as a helpful reminder to set aside one's own sense of importance and concentrate on what really matters. Why, therefore, is it a good thing to realize that you're not all that special? It all comes down to realizing that our actions don't have as much of an impact on the world as we may believe. The majority of people are far too preoccupied with their own problems to give our actions much thought. When you really get this, it's a game changer, because you can stop worrying so much about how other people see you. Have you ever been hesitant to share something online out of concern for others' opinions? Or perhaps you've been reluctant to pursue a job or begin a new project because you fear failing or receiving negative feedback from others and think they will see you as unworthy. A Stoic reminder is given here. After a few days, most people won't even remember it. Everyone else is too preoccupied with handling their own difficulties. This doesn't mean that your efforts are insignificant or that you shouldn't try your hardest. Rather, it just means that you can relax a little knowing that one slip-up won't be the center of attention for everyone. This idea assists in dispelling the myth that everyone is observing and evaluating our every action, which is a frequent trap that encourages worry and overanalyzing. Realizing that you can go about your life, make your own decisions, and even make mistakes occasionally without the world collapsing isn't it freeing? You are free to try new things, grow, and live your life without the burden of what seems like unending scrutiny. This is where Stoicism really helps us to understand this idea. It instills in us a sense of humility and emphasizes the value of pursuing self-improvement for its own sake, rather than seeking praise or running from criticism. Marcus Aurelius advocated living a moral life, staying true to oneself, and not seeking approval from others. So keep this in mind the next time you find yourself second-guessing everything you do because of how you think other people will see you. It's a good thing that the world doesn't think highly of you. It implies that you are liberated to lead a more complete, genuine life free from excessive worry about every criticism. This has nothing to do with undervaluing you. It's about realizing to your relief that you aren't always the center of attention. Make the most of that time by letting go of unimportant concerns and concentrating on the things that really matter to you. Third lesson. Happiness is stolen by comparison. We set ourselves up for discontent when we compare ourselves to other people all the time, whether it's through their accomplishments, their appearance, or even their posts on social media. It's as though we're gauging the value of our life using a yardstick that shifts based on who we're comparing ourselves to at any given time. The Stoics placed a strong emphasis on living in the present moment and considering the lives of others, definitely not under our jurisdiction. The famous quote from Epictetus states, "Leave what you cannot control and focus on what you can." You're wasting your valuable resource, your attention, on things you are powerless to alter or influence when you devote your energy to other people. I'll draw you a picture for you. Let's say you're having an excellent day. Regardless of how big or small your accomplishments are, you are feeling proud of yourself. Then, all of a sudden, you are viewing someone else's highlight reel on Facebook or Instagram. Holidays, dream houses, accomplishments. Your own successes seem less significant all of a sudden. That is the comparison trap. The Stoics teach us to measure our value not by how we compare to others, but by how we measure our own progress and values. It goes beyond simply feeling better. It has to do with a basic change in the way we think about happiness and success. It has more to do with internal than external validation. Living by this idea helps you change your mindset from one of competition to one of personal development. Really, it's liberating. You can appreciate your own journey with all of its ups and downs when you stop comparing. You start to see your life as a journey rather than a competition to reach other people's goals. With this kind of thinking, you can celebrate your own accomplishments without letting the success of others cast a shadow over you. Joy will come more easily to you if you can teach yourself to think more introspectively rather than in comparison. You'll begin to appreciate the gifts in your own life and no longer feel the need to compare them to those of others. Take a step back the next time you see yourself succumbing to the comparison trap. Remember that your worth is determined by how you live up to your own ideals and efforts, not by how you compare to others. Return that energy to your own development and aspirations. I promise you, this will change your life in terms of overcoming overthinking and genuinely discovering happiness on your own special journey. Course 4. Being flawless is unreal. Ironically, the unrelenting drive to achieve perfection can result in more unhappiness and paralysis rather than greater success. When we hold ourselves to impossible standards, even the smallest error or setback can seem like a disastrous failure. It's a surefire recipe for ongoing anxiety and persistent overanalyzing. The Stoic thinkers were acutely aware of this. They showed us that aiming for conventional perfection, that is flawless and comprehensive, is needless and unrealistic. In the words of Seneca, we suffer more often in our dreams than in real life. He was trying to convey the idea that the real flaws in life don't cause us nearly as much distress as our pursuit of an idealized state of perfection. Consider that for a moment. How many times have you stressed out trying to get something perfect only to find that the effort was giving you more anxiety than it was worth? Stoicism encourages us to accept imperfection as a necessary component of being human, rather than viewing it as a weakness. We can liberate ourselves from the unattainable expectations that constrict us and result in never-ending cycles of overthinking by acknowledging our inherent imperfection. This is not to say that we shouldn't strive to get better or develop. Quite the contrary. It implies that we acknowledge improvement as a continuous process that is replete with lessons discovered via errors and mishaps. Could you picture yourself approaching a new project or learning a new skill with the attitude that errors are not only acceptable but even beneficial? How much more open would you be to trying something different, being creative, and taking chances? Rejecting the myth of perfection grants you this freedom. The Stoic method teaches us that every flaw presents a chance for growth. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "What prevents action encourages action. What obstructs the path eventually becomes it." He is emphasizing to us that the challenges, flaws, and disappointments are more than just things to get through. They are essential components of the path that challenge us to advance and develop. Therefore, let's attempt to change our focus as we proceed. Let's aim for progress rather than perfection. Recognizing the value of every step forward, let's celebrate both small and large victories. Because our experiences are richer and our lives are truly authentic because of our imperfections, let's learn to find beauty in the imperfect. You'll discover that letting go of the myth of perfection not only helps you stop over-analyzing things, but also opens up a whole new world of possibilities where learning is enjoyable rather than stressful. Though it's easy to let our emotions get in the way, it's important to keep in mind that our feelings don't always accurately reflect the circumstances around us. While emotions are a normal part of the human experience, Stoicism teaches us that they shouldn't control our choices or how we see the world. This concept has its origins in the teachings of the Stoic philosophers, such as Marcus Aurelius, who urged us to examine our impressions objectively and ask ourselves whether they are based on reality or whether our emotions are clouding our judgment. He is credited with saying, "You control your thoughts, not external circumstances." When you accept this, you'll find strength. When was the last time you experienced emotional overload? Perhaps you were upset about a quarrel with a friend or nervous about a big meeting. Our feelings can seem to consume us at those times and to define our entire reality. The problem is that feelings are fleeting. They come and go, and they have the ability to trick us into thinking more than we actually are feeling at any given time. It is not the purpose of this Stoic lesson to repress your feelings. It's more important to resist allowing them to rule you. It's about developing a detachment level that allows you to recognize your emotions without allowing them to influence your decisions. When the Stoics speak of leading a life of virtue, they mean something like this. It's about using reason to face life's obstacles rather than letting feelings take control. Let's say you're depressed because you failed to get the job for which you applied. One's first emotional reaction could be to feel unworthy or that they will never work at a job they love. However, if you take a step back and use logic, you might realize that this rejection could be a chance for you to look into other options or areas where your interviewing techniques need work. You give yourself the opportunity to take more proactive and constructive routes by refusing to let your initial feelings control your reality. It's easy to begin practicing this. The next time you notice yourself becoming agitated, stop, take a deep breath, and ask yourself if your response is justified by the facts or by how you perceive the circumstances. Is there a different perspective on this? Simply pausing for a moment can frequently help you avoid going into a negative overthinking spiral and enable you to approach situations more logically. Epictetus asserted that our perception of events disturbs us, not the events themselves. Thus, we can alter how we perceive the highs and lows of life by altering our viewpoint and challenging the veracity of our emotional reactions. This is not an excuse to suppress our emotions. It entails handling them in a way that enables us to react sensibly and coherently. The Stoic path teaches us that attachment to uncontrollable outcomes is a major source of our suffering. Recall that the Stoics emphasize making a distinction between our controllable and uncontrollable situations. And although we have some control over the results, we do not have complete control. According to Epictetus, we have no control over some things and not over others. Stoic composure and fortitude are rooted in this straightforward reality. Consider the times you have worked on a project or pursued a personal objective. When your entire attention is on the result, even the smallest setback can seem like a catastrophic event. Since, quite honestly, a lot of the time, the factors that determine the outcome are beyond our control or ability to predict, this obsession can result in ongoing stress and disappointment. However, what if you changed your attention from the result to the process of trying? Imagine the freedom and fulfillment that come from knowing that the quality and intention of your actions determine your worth rather than the outcome. Detachment from results is what it means to do this. It's important to remember that outcomes shouldn't define you, not that they should matter. Let us apply this to a relatable example, such as beginning a new exercise, regimen, or diet. You may end up frustrated and even failing if your only focus is on dropping a certain amount of weight in a given amount of time. Rather, by concentrating on adopting better eating habits or finding enjoyment in your workouts, you move the emphasis to the method. You begin to notice improvements in your energy and mood every day. You have control over these, as they are the direct consequences of your actions. The reduction in weight then turns into a positive byproduct, rather than the only indicator of your achievement. This Stoic attitude fosters resilience. Delays lose some of their terrifying power when the results aren't everything. These are merely opportunities to grow and adapt along the way. Because this mindset is based on what you're doing right now rather than some far-off, possibly elusive goal, it promotes a more sustainable motivation. Furthermore, distancing yourself from results enables you to focus more intently and in the moment on the work at hand. Your performance is improved because your attention is on the task at hand, rather than being diverted by concerns about the outcome. Ironically, because you're acting out of engagement and authenticity, rather than fear and attachment, this can produce better results. So let's attempt to put this into practice as we proceed. Pay attention to what you do. Live your life in accordance with your principles, and give each moment your all. Have faith that if you follow through on this, the results will take care of themselves. As Marcus Aurelius once said, the most important thing is to do the right thing. Everything else is irrelevant. It's a liberating way of living that reduces needless stress and overanalyzing significantly. Course 7. You have only the moment right now. Though Stoicism teaches us that the only real time we have control over is the present, it is easy to become mired in regrets about the past or anxieties about the future. A strong proponent of this philosophy, Marcus Aurelius, said, "Confine yourself to the present." His message is straightforward but incredibly important. While the future is unpredictable and the past is untouchable, our lives are lived in the present. Consider how often you find yourself thinking about the past or the future. It might be worrying about an impending deadline or ruminating on a quarrel you had last week. Not only are these thoughts annoying, but they also consume energy. They yank you from the present moment, making it harder for you to concentrate on what you're doing right now, which lowers your effectiveness and happiness. Actively concentrating on the here and now is a necessary component of embracing the present moment. This is not to say that you should forget the lessons learned from the past or stop making plans for the future. Instead, it indicates that you don't allow those factors to take precedence over your present circumstances. It's about maintaining equilibrium in one's awareness, not allowing one thing to overpower another. Imagine that you are with a friend, and at the same time, mentally practicing a work presentation that is due tomorrow. In addition to losing out on the richness of the interaction, being partially absent also impedes your preparation, because dispersed attention seldom produces high-quality work. When you actively choose to give your friend your whole attention, however, you enhance that experience and frequently discover that your mind is more organized and focused when it comes time to work. Something as easy as mindful breathing can serve as the foundation for practicing presence. Breathe deeply a few times and look around if you find your thoughts racing to the past or the future. Take in the sights, sounds, and scents. Sensate the earth beneath your feet and the air on your skin. This is about reminding yourself that life happens in the present moment, not just about establishing a physical foundation. Gratitude is also fostered by the Stoic practices of mindfulness and presence. You're more likely to recognize the little pleasures and accomplishments that you might otherwise miss when you're totally present. This may result in a greater appreciation for your life as it is, rather than how you wish it were or fear it should be. As we proceed, let's make an effort to return our focus to the here and now whenever we notice it wandering. Recall that every moment lost is a moment wasted, worrying about the past or the future. Your reality and the platform on which you can act is the present. Marcus Aurelius pushed us to live fully and purposefully in the here and now, to actively shape our lives as they unfold, rather than living a passive existence. We embrace life itself when we embrace the present, because we know we're really living, not just existing. We can live with a sense of peace, manage stress better, and fully enjoy our experiences. This is a potent Stoic lesson that improves our whole life and lessens overanalyzing. Since this is all we actually have, let's make the most of it. That concludes our discussion of how Stoic wisdom can change the way we perceive the world and conduct our lives. To live a more fulfilled life, always remember that every moment you choose to be intentional and present is a step in the right direction. I appreciate you being here at Stoic Journal. In order to continue your journey into Stoicism, please watch one of the recommended videos on the screen. If you found value in our discussion today, it means the world to us that you are here and participating. Think deeply and live life to the fullest. Until the next time.